Hey everybody, what's poppin'? It's Paul Esden Jr., aka Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. We're streaming live right now in 3 different places. Technology, baby. Heavy on Jets, 20,000 New York Jet fans here on our Facebook page. Thanks for joining us. Our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25. Like the video, hit subscribe down below for more juicy New York Jets content. And of course, on the Twitter sphere, at BoyGreen25. We're here joining you on a Saturday night, baby. We had to get this in this week. Had a couple of Lions insiders this week, but with all the breaking news left and right, we had to keep flip-flopping and switch-swatching. So I'm glad we're able to get this in before Sunday. And it's a pivotal game, not just for the Jets and Lions, but we're not talking draft. We're not talking this or that. We're talking gosh darn playoffs, baby. Yes, playoff implications for both teams. And we're going to get all into it with our Detroit Lions guru, a guy I know here well locally, but he's going to be making his first appearance on the YouTube feed for us and all the other portals we're sharing. So let's bring him in, Detroit Lions insider from Bally Sports. Let's bring him in, none other than Evan Stockton here locally, Syracuse Mets broadcaster. Let's bring him in, Evan Stockton. What's up, Evan?
Paul, you do know this is literally my life dream, right? To be called the Detroit Lions insider. You know
yes.
that, right?
I do. So I wanted to make sure, that we put that on. It fit. You kind of looked in the mirror, checked if it felt right, and it sounds like you do. So we appreciate that.
Last Sunday, I'm not going to lie to you. I sat there and watched my football team not make the mistakes they've been making there literally my entire life and my father's life and my grandpa's life, and actually close out a good football team in the Minnesota Vikings, as we saw today. Minnesota Vikings team that was, I believe I checked FanDuel at one point. They were like plus 40,000 to win the game, and then they won the game. So my brain was short-circuiting last Sunday, having actually watched a competent, honest-to-God football team. So I'm scared as hell for tomorrow. We'll see what the hell happens.
Well, let's start off with the journey, because I imagine at 1-6 where the Lions were, it's hard to believe at one point this season that, and I love Dan Campbell, so of course everyone sees Hard Knocks. We were actually talking about it off air during our Syracuse Mets games together, and I'm telling you, man, this Hard Knocks team, I guess that is probably the Hard Knocks-ism. We start falling in love with this try-hard team, whoever it is, and like, man, they could do something this year. We see 1-6. I love Dan Campbell, but like, oh boy, a lot of people were having the questions, is Dan Campbell even going to be making these picks next year? How long is he going to last? And it feels sad. And then all of a sudden, the Detroit Lions win 5 of 6. They look great. And to be honest with you, Evan, between me, you, and the four walls here, the Lions should have won that other gosh darn game against the Buffalo Bills. What the hell were the Lions doing at the end of that game? I still don't know. But so they should have won 6 in a row. But tell me this transformation, what you thought the season was going to be, the 1-6 happens, you're like, oh boy. And then all of a sudden, this crazy run where all of a sudden the Lions, if they win, if they beat the Jets after Seattle's lost, they're a half game out of the playoffs.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Personally, I thought the Lions would go 6-11, 7-10. I had bought Dan Campbell stock. Yes, I was one of those people who watched Hard Knocks. And like lifelong dream to see my football team on Hard Knocks. So that was really cool.
Sure.
But yeah, when they were 1-6, it wasn't just that they were 1-6. It's the way they were losing. They got embarrassed in a game at New England. They went to Dallas and made every single possible mistake you can make. Early on in the year, they lost a game at Minnesota that they should have won in Minnesota. Frankly, Dan Campbell admitted, I bungled the end of that game, kicked a field goal that I shouldn't have tried to kick a field goal. But the turning point for the season, and it sounds so strange to say as a Lions fan, when the Lions humiliated Aaron Rodgers at Ford Field. It was a tight ball game. I forget the final score. Maybe it was 15-13, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but Rodgers threw 4 picks. Lions won the game, and Campbell said to the media after the ball game, hey, we needed this win, and we needed affirmation that everything we are doing is going to work because we are this close. And now all of those little things that everyone around here in Metro Detroit says same old Lions, now they're winning football games. And it's fantastic to see the way they're winning games, the way they're playing competent, complementary, sound football. Historically, a month and a half into the year, this was the worst defense in the history of the National Football League. They gave up 48 points to kind of start the renaissance of Geno Smith. The Seahawks walked in here, I think it was week 3, week 4, and completely embarrassed the Lions. The Lions defense looks awesome right now. Jeff Okudah is energized. Aiden Hutchinson, after a slow start to his rookie campaign, has certainly looked worthy of second pick in the draft. Heck, even Jamison Williams, who has just come back from injury, has barely played, caught a touchdown last week and did like 2 full laps around Ford Field because he was so excited. It's a cool time to be a Lions fan, which again, with this team, I feel like a scorned lover. I am opening up my heart. I am preparing to get hurt again. I believe it was Michael Scott who said in the office, no question about it, I am ready to get hurt again. That is what I will say to myself when I wake up tomorrow.
See, and it's funny how close these Jets and Lions teams and fans are from that perspective, because Jet fans have been in that same light, that scorn lover, where, again, like they either don't believe and then they start winning. And they're like, well, and then, they get hurt in the end. But let me ask you about that, because still, so the 1-6 start and the horrible defense you just mentioned, the worst defense in NFL history for a period of time, and how well they're playing now, even how well they're playing now. And I want to hear more about that. Still, apparently, with how bad they were, they're still bottom 5 in every major defensive category from how the season started, in every major category: total yards allowed, passing yards allowed, rushing yards allowed, and points per game. So let me ask you, are they still being weighed down by the really shitty, to put it bluntly, the really shitty play at the beginning of the year? And they've played so much better now, but because of how bad they were, it's basically impossible to flip the overall statistics because of that. What's the real defense here for the Lions?
Real defense is not quite as good as they've played the last few weeks, but clearly not as bad as they were early in the year. Hutchinson had to get up to speed. Okudah has been getting back to his full self from an injury. Malcolm Rodriguez, who everyone calls Rodrigo,
yes,
superstar on Hard Knocks, awesome linebacker for the Lions. He looks like Chris Spielman out there, the way he's filling the holes and fitting the gaps. Yeah, so the defense, now look, last week, the Vikings did have a good day at the office. Justin Jefferson had, I believe, a franchise record in terms of receiving for the Vikings, and it could have been worse. He had a touchdown that was wiped off the board on an errant bad call by officials. Said he stepped out of bounds at the 35. He didn't actually step out of bounds at the 35, so it could have been worse. The Lions defense is not as bad as they were earlier in the year. They're not quite as good as the way they've been playing, but look, I don't have to tell Jets fans who the hell's playing quarterback tomorrow, right? So I have no earthly idea what to expect out of Zach Wilson. I don't think anybody has any idea what to expect. Could it be a susceptible defense? Sure. But I believe he's going to have to get some help, and we'll see if this time off and this sabbatical, purgatory, whatever the hell you want to call it, ends up helping or hurting him. It's a really fascinating story for sure.
Yeah, we feel the same way. Of course, for those who are sleeping under a rock, Mike White was supposed to play in this game, of course. The Jets coaching staff said he was playing. Mike White said he was playing. And they didn't play, the cat and mouse game up till Sunday. They just, dropped the bombshell on Friday. Yeah, he's out. It's Zach Wilson time. And whoa, okay, Zach Wilson's been a healthy scratch the last 3 weeks. All of a sudden, he's reinserted into the lineup. America loves a comeback story, and I guess it sets up potentially for that, or to reconfirm the reasons why he was benched in the first place. So it is a fascinating dynamic, and you said it. I have no idea what to expect from Zach Wilson. We'll join the ball club, pal. We have no idea what to expect, and the problem is that Zach Wilson as a starter. I know the wins aren't a quarterback stat thing, but Zach Wilson's 5-2 as a starter, and his only 2 losses were to New England twice, where he imploded in 2 different ways. First time 3 picks, second time 77 passing yards. It's still gross to say that out loud, but the other ones he was somewhat okay. He was like an average quarterback, nothing spectacular, but average. So we will see if, again, the same kind of way we were talking about that Lions defense, is it truly something in between, or is the Patriots really the real thing here? I want to flip it to the Lions quarterback, Jared Goff, because at the beginning of the year, I remember fantasy people going, wow, this Jared Goff guy, all of a sudden he's a top fantasy quarterback. This offense is electric. And then you mentioned some of those pitfalls against Dallas and New England. They were like, oh, just kidding, he's not really good. And then, whoa, wait a second, during this winners of 5 of 6, I don't think he's thrown a pick in this long stretch. You'll know better the statistics, but Jared Goff has looked like a man on fire again. Is this offense this electric thing that we saw earlier in the year and during this run? Are they kind of playing above their heads here? What's the real thing with this Lions? Because it looks like they have a ton of talent on offense.
It's one human being. His name is Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Lions.
Yeah.
As my due diligence for a Lions fan, I want to make sure the narrative is spread. Ben Johnson is awful at his job. Please do not pay attention to Ben Johnson. Please do not want to hire Ben Johnson. He is going nowhere. He is horrible. Please let him stay with us here in Detroit.
Excellent.
The actual true story is Ben Johnson is offensive coordinating his ass off. I don't know if that's a term. I just made it off.
I like it.
Yeah, Jared Goff has played well. Amon-Ra St. Brown, who they found in the later rounds in the NFL draft a couple of years ago, he's turned out to be a stud. Jamal Williams has run the ball really well. The Lions were able to trade away TJ Hawkinson and really not miss a beat at the tight end spot. Oh, by the way, the offensive line, Penei Sewell, I know everyone saw the cute little highlight of him catching the pass to win the game last week. Dude's one of the better offensive linemen in the league, and I think it's his second year. But all of this is coming together because the offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, has done an outstanding job of figuring out, frankly, what works, what doesn't work. Goff can't really throw. I know he threw a couple of long bomb touchdowns last week. His game, and his game never was with the LA Rams, chuck it down the field. It was coordinated really well in Los Angeles. How many times did we see the long stretch run to Gurley and then the play action fake, and then he'd find Woods and then he'd find whoever? Well, that's similarly what's happening here in Detroit. Ben Johnson is putting him in positions to succeed. He's not throwing a ton of deep shots down the field, but he is finding one-on-one matchups. He is finding soft zone coverage. It's really fun to watch how Ben Johnson has put the Lions offense in position to succeed. Do they have talent? Yeah. Is Jared Goff a top-end quarterback in the league? No. Is he top half? Sure. Is he top 10? Probably not. But when you have a really good offensive coordinator, as we know in the league, Zach Wilson wasn't doing very well early in the year, and the Jets were still winning because they were putting him in positions to succeed. So the answer to your question is Ben Johnson is offensive coordinating his ass off.
And it's funny, maybe he just gets overlooked because he has like the plainest name. I guess Mike White is second in command with that name of all time, especially coming off like a Jim Bob Cooter. We're like, yeah, Jim Bob Cooter, baby. Yes, the name is sexy. We love this guy, but just Ben Johnson, like who? Like I probably could pick him out of a lineup. So maybe that's playing a factor as well here. Guys, make sure you show the love. Of course, if you're watching right now, like the video, hit subscribe. Happy holidays, and why don't you hit up my boy Evan Stockton on Twitter at EV Stockton on the Twitter sphere, our Detroit Lions guru from Bally Sports joining us here on the program. And let me ask you about this nugget I keep hearing from Lions people over and over again, and so much so that it's kind of permeating throughout the Jets locker room as well. Robert Saleh has said it a few times. The Detroit Lions have the best offensive line in football, and we had Robert Saleh on the Michael Kay show earlier this week saying it's 1A, 1B with the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line if you want to try to argue about it. But the Lions offensive line is the best in football. Is that true? And how much of a point of emphasis has it been this season to allow the Lions to do everything they've wanted to on offense?
Look, I don't work for Pro Football Focus. I can't tell you the exact numbers. All I can tell you is as a guy who calls football for a living, as a guy who watches more football than is probably humanly healthy. As soon as we're done doing this, I'm going to go watch that Bills-Dolphins game.
Oh, yeah, me too, yeah.
I can tell you what my eyes are telling me. And what my eyes are telling me, again, yeah, Ben Johnson is coordinating this offense in position to succeed, but I forget if I saw it on Instagram, Twitter, wherever I saw it this week. The pocket and the time that Goff has to throw is stupid right now. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what team you are. You give the quarterback time to throw the football, the wide receivers should get open in the NFL. So, yeah, this offensive line with Sewell and Taylor Decker, who's kind of had a Jekyll and Hyde career here in Detroit. He's playing really, really well at that left tackle spot. Jonah Jackson, who they drafted a couple of years ago. Frank Ragnow. This is a very, very good offensive line. But again, I hate to sound like negative Nancy. I'm not. Yeah. I'm very excited about my Lions here. But this game for them is a massive, huge litmus test because the Lions have been getting fat and happy at home. They've been home the last 3 weeks, 1-2 in a row, probably should have beaten the Bills on Thanksgiving. Now you go on the road to the Jets, to a team that clearly is motivated, to a team that has an outstanding defense, to a defense that has a cornerback in Sauce Gardner, who is already a top 5 defensive player in the National Football League, and the dude has barely played in the National Football League. And something underrated that I don't know if enough people are talking about, Robert Saleh's from Detroit.
So is Sauce, for that matter, born and raised.
Yes, Sauce Gardner is from Detroit. He went to King High School, which just won their second consecutive state championship a few weeks ago. Heard the guy who called that game did a really outstanding job on Dallas Sports, let me tell you. And Robert Saleh is from Dearborn, and once upon a time, before he got the Jets job, he interviewed for the Lions job.
He did.
And I wanted him to get the Lions job. Yeah. So I think that's another thing, too, is there's, it's like anything in life, right? There are weirdly ties. There's a lot of Lions, Jets, Detroit ties here, which is a fun little subplot to the ballgame.
Oh, it absolutely is. And I have to ask you, so you mentioned getting fat and happy at home at Ford Field for the Lions. Now they're going on the road. How much stock do you put into the stat? I've seen it shared across social media. Is that, of course, the Lions, for those who don't know, play in a dome. And Jared Goff is going outside in the wintry conditions. I don't think it's anything like we're getting tonight in the Bills Dolphins game. And I know it was mostly snow earlier. It looks like they've cleared most of it out. But the question has been, wow, Jared Goff in the snow, this record, and then also the playing the solid defenses, which was again back in the NFC West days, for the majority of these against that 49ers defense that he struggled. Do you put any stock into that whatsoever, or these are two different teams? Obviously they are, but two different teams, completely different set of circumstances. How much stock do you put into the weather stuff and Jared Goff's history against Salah's defenses?
I of course put some stock into it. The Lions have had a really great home field advantage this year. The fact that us Detroiters have a good football team to root for,
Yeah.
competitive, is weird. So we've been locked into it. And yes, you have the advantageous conditions inside a dome. You don't have to worry about stuff. So when you look at the Lions running game, they've been using three guys. Jamal Williams, who has a ton of touchdowns, but frankly, all of his touchdowns are coming from 5 yards inward. He's been a touchdown vulture this year. They've had DeAndre Swift, who frankly has been a highly disappointing former second-round pick out of Georgia, who has been hurt a lot. And when he hasn't been hurt, he's been frankly disappointing. And then they're using Justin Jackson, former undrafted Northwestern Wildcats great. So I do believe the Jets, with that great defense, can stop the run. Now it becomes, does Goff have the ability? Do those wide receivers have the ability to get separation, to break open? Amon-Ra certainly can. DJ Chark has been revitalized the last couple of weeks. Jameson Williams, I know he just caught the touchdown last week. He's played maybe 15 total snaps. They're being very, very careful with him, as they should be. He is your wide receiver, a number one target of the future. So, I do put stock into the weather. Yeah, I do put stock into these two teams having to play outside, because if the Jets stop the running game, then we really figure out, okay, what do the Lions have passing attack? Absolutely. And again, this is why it's a huge litmus test for the Lions.
Yeah.
They've been getting fat and happy at home, but they got two road games here, the Jets and the Panthers, two teams that are still technically in playoff contention. So
crazy.
Let's go see how they do.
Yeah, it's bonkers. We're getting a couple of super chats in here. Daniel Fowl saying it'll be a WWE Sunday fun day. Hope Zach Wilson does well. Appreciate that, Daniel. Let me borrow that for a second with the WWE style and just talking about Aiden Hutchinson, who is a guy that, it's funny how the betting odds were going. The night before the draft, the Jets had the 4th overall pick, Lions had 2nd overall pick. All of a sudden, Aiden Hutchinson out of nowhere was the betting favorite for the Jets to be the 4th overall pick. And all of us went, whoa, is this one of those Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield things where we think it's Sam Darnold the entire time and it flips last second? Like, wow, Aiden Hutchinson might slip to the Jets. And obviously, it goes the way we thought it was going to with him staying at home. He's got 7 sacks in the year. I know you said he's kind of been surging lately. Do you at all give him an outside shot at this defensive rookie of the year thing, or it's obviously it sauces a word to lose?
I mean, there's still a month to go. I mean, if the Lions find a way to sneak themselves into the playoffs and Aiden has 6 more sacks or whatever the heck it is, 4, absolutely. I would assume it's Sauce Gardner's to lose. But the most encouraging thing is, at the end of the day, who gives a rat's what about awards? What matters is that Aiden has played really well in the second half of the season now. Lions fans, to be blunt, were kind of concerned early on in the year. And you got to put, again, we know this, Paul, working in sports broadcasting. I know this intimately as a play-by-play guy who was around a team every single day. There's a lot of pressure on these dudes. Aiden Hutchinson, he went to Dearborn Divine Child High School. He just played on a Michigan team that brought the program back to relevance. He's not living at home anymore. I think he's living like 10 minutes from his parents. So there's a lot of pressure that goes into this, right? And he walks into that facility every day, and when he goes to the local grocery store, Meijer or Kroger, he listens to, all these guys listen to everything, dumbasses.
How could you not? Right.
Dumbasses like you and I have to say. So of course there was pressure, but again, all it took was one game for the Lions to really start building a tidal wave. And it's really been encouraging to see, because, the odds for the Lions to make the playoffs are like 20%. They're not very high. What matters is, can you keep building momentum toward next year and the year after that? Because hypothetically, because you're going to get a high pick from the LA Rams, the Lions should be legit contenders starting next year. So what's happening right now, it's cute and it's fun, but it's kind of gravy toward what we hope is the real thing at this time next year.
And again, that's a beautiful thing because sometimes Jet fans over the last batch years, not this year, obviously, with them being in the thick of the playoff mix, but like, man, should we be winning games right now? Is it good for building for the future? Or should we be tanking because losing is better picks? Well, the Lions, let's compete and let's get the pick because of the gosh darn LA Rams. I mean, they've completely imploded. And outside of that crazy Baker Mayfield thing, and how the hell did the Raiders in the same season lose to Baker Mayfield on 36 hours notice and then Jeff Saturday off his couch? I digress. But the Lions would have an even better pick from that perspective, but they're winning, competing, and the dream is alive in some sense. Again, if they win, they're only a half game out of the NFC playoffs. Giants, Washington play each other. It's not, to your point, the percentages don't say, wow, it's happening, but the fact that you could kind of even believe seems like something that the Lions seem to be selling to their fan base, which leads me, I see another super chat here from Daniel Fast. We got 3 good quarterbacks to become unbeatable next year, but I only want to use this, and Daniel, shout out again for the super chat. We appreciate it. Is the confidence level of these fan bases heading into this? Jet fans, I think it's completely changed for the majority of Jet fans on Zach Wilson. A lot of Jet fans, I'm kind of positive on Zach Wilson. I'm really curious to see it, to be honest, but I know I'm in the minority. I know a lot of Jet fans said, boy, Lions are going to win now. But what is the confidence level of Lions fans, not only just kind of heading into this game, but that the fact of the matter of what I just said, that if they win, they're a half game out of the playoffs, is there like some buzz saying, hey, we can do this thing, guys?
Yeah, this is going to sound horrible. I think Lions fans are way too confident right now. All I saw last week after that Vikings win on my Instagram or my Twitter or my whatever is, oh my God, these are my grandparents. They've had season tickets for 50 years. They've been waiting their whole lives for this. Which are like, they've been waiting for 6 and 7. What? But
yeah,
again,
right.
I hate to sound like a negative Nancy. I'm not. This is awesome. I'm really excited for this. But let's put it in perspective, right? You had a terrible start to the year. You've had to work your ass off just to get back to this point. Yes, you are building. Yes, this is exciting. But there is still a saying around here called same old Lions. Same old Lions would be playing Zach freaking Wilson, who just got demoted to 3rd string because the team hated him so much.
Yeah.
And then carving us up, like a turkey a week before Christmas and beating us. So
which I'm seeing from a fan already. Sorry, Evan, you almost got away with facing an injured Mike White. Now Zach is going to torch you. Our bad bro with the winking emoji there from Hawk on our YouTube channel. And let me ask you straight up, and also because I know that from what I've heard from some sources that you do dabble in the gambling world. So using that in some of your Lions festivities here, are you surprised? So here's the opening line this week, guys. Jets were a 1-point favorite at home. It kind of scratched a lot of people said they're kind of like interesting. From people I heard, they thought it was going to be like a 3-point Jets lead, which again, normally is kind of the Vegas line for home field advantage. And it was 1. And then in the middle of the week before this quarterback news, it flips. The Lions are a favorite by a point. People are like, whoa, what's happening here? It flipped back to Jets at 1.5. And I think the last time I checked, it flipped back again to Detroit with the Zach Wilson news. Should Detroit, regardless of quarterback situation, I guess you have to factor that in, should they be a favorite in MetLife with how hot they've been playing? And obviously the Jets have been playing very poorly lately by record. Again, overall records, Jets still have a game on the Lions, but in terms of recency bias, the Lions have been much hotter, obviously. Should they be a favorite heading into this game? Talking about, again, maybe some Lions fans are overconfident with what's happening here. Is Vegas as well overconfident in the Lions?
Should the Lions be favored? No. You're on the road at a contender in kind of crummy weather, and you haven't left your home for a month. And no, okay. The last I saw, Paul, was I think that's -1 makes sense, which makes sense.
Let me pull it up here
to me. But that is, in the way I would phrase it, a stinky line. If the line doesn't make any sense, just don't touch it.
You are right. It is back to Jets now. It's back to Jets, a 1-point favorite.
If I had to guess with the news of the week, I would guess like Lions -2. So if it's Jets -1, again, I want my boys to win. If I had to bet on this game, I'd bet on the Jets.
Interesting.
Because the line doesn't make any sense. So.
Yeah, it does not with how it's gone throughout this thing. Well, we both need to hop on that Dolphins-Bills game tonight, the crown jewel of Saturday football, which we need more of this, baby. Fantastic. We have our game, of course, tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Evan, anything that we missed on this Jets-Lions thing? A prediction, perhaps, for how you think this thing is actually going to go? It's been great to get you on for the very first time. We're going to do this more often, pal.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, buddy. So what my heart tells me. The heart tells me the Lions are going to walk into New York, just to walk into East Rutherford, New Jersey, embarrass your asses. Zach Wilson is never going to play quarterback ever again, and we're going to win 27-0. What does my
Okay.
head tell me? The Jets are going to win, like 21-17.
Okay.
Again, like, I'm a scorned lover here. I will believe it when I see it. I am ready to get hurt again. I am excited. We got a hell of a sports day tomorrow. I like soccer. I'm going to wake up and watch the World Cup. I'm going to watch Lions Jets and roll right through the rest of the day before the inevitability of busyness for the holidays the next week. My heart tells me Lions are going to win in a blowout. My head tells me they're probably going to lose.
Well, first off, Evan, I want to say, happy holidays. It's great to catch back up with you because I know our season together ended a couple months ago. So happy holidays to you. And I just have to say, from the bottom of my heart, as a guy that roots for the underdog, naturally speaking, being a Jets fan more times than not, that I just love the fact that this game is important for both sides and not for draft implications, that there is people talking. It was highlighted on Thursday Night Football. It's a game everyone's got to watch for playoff implications. I had to smack myself in the face, I'm sorry, what was that, Al Michaels? What did you just say? So to kind of bring it back in. So I just got to say, it's awesome to be in this position for both of us. Both must win for both teams. Obviously, where the Lions started the season, and for the Jets who want to get back in the playoff mix themselves, specifically of getting back in this thing. A virtual handshake, virtual good luck, man. And it's awesome that this is actually a thing. So it's beautiful.
God bless you, buddy. Appreciate you.
Right. There he is, Evan Stockton. Again, guys, make sure you follow him on Twitter at EV Stockton on the Twitter sphere. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for the post-game show right here on my YouTube channel. Thanks, everybody. Peace.